Be a humble, loving servant of everyone. Dear friends, in today's liturgy, we get inspiration from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 9, verses 30 to 37. And Jesus is on the way to Galilee. Remember, his mission has always been to do good, and that is our mission. He's moving towards Galilee, a place where there were a lot of activities, meaning there are also a lot of people. He's moving where people are and invites us to move where people are, to do good where people are. But though he's moving where people are, because people used to gather around the Galilee because there was a sea and people used to do business, he moves and he did not want to know that people know where he is. Why? There are moments like that Jesus wanted to reveal many things in secret. There are moments that he took the disciples away from the crowd and put them alone with himself. And he teaches us also that sometimes, even in our relationships, wherever we are, that we do not need to shout all the bad things or all the awkward words or the horrible, painful things to others in public. We have to learn the art of correcting in private also, taking one person aside, not in public. Why humiliate people in public? Why shout to people in public? Why even use the social media to pull down many people, as it happens with the fake news? But Jesus, we see, gives us an example here. He puts the disciples aside, and there are moments like that whereby he wants to communicate something more intimate. It's not that he was going to communicate to rebuke them in a way like when he had earlier on rebuked Peter and said, "Go behind me, Satan," in that case. No. He wanted to communicate something more important, that he's towards the journey to Jerusalem and is going to be humiliated, is going to suffer, and he will die. Remember that Peter had said earlier, "No, this cannot happen to you, no." And until Jesus said, "Go behind me, Satan," because the way of Christ means the way of the cross, and we cannot run away from the cross, and we cannot remove the cross, our suffering and challenges from our lives. So he wanted to communicate to them that he's going to suffer and he's going to die. Of course, to a friend, you hear these things from a friend, it's not good news, and people were afraid even to ask him. My brother, my sister, first of all, don't be afraid to ask the Lord. Whatever you have in your heart, always pour it out and share it with the Lord. That's the way of praying. Prayer is that, where I pour out what is inside me, that which I understand and that which I don't understand. I say, "Lord, send your spirit to illumine me, to encourage me, to give me strength, to give me patience, to give me wisdom, to know what I have to do in this situation." So, though the disciples were afraid to ask him what he really meant about him dying, who was rising the people who are dead, who was giving miracles, healing the sick, and now he's talking about dying, though the disciples were afraid, don't be afraid to talk to God the way it is from your heart, to pour out everything from your heart, because that's where true prayer is, whereby I do the best I can in prayer, and then after I've done the best I can, I communicate with God. First I consult God, then I do the best I can, and then I connect with God. I do the best I can, I connect with God, I collaborate. That's when miracles happen. That's when God answers our prayers, and when we do the best we can, but especially when we call on him to journey with us. And so Jesus is with the disciples aside and communicating that is to suffer. This was an intimate kind of communication which he had to make in order, because this was part of his mission. It's like a seed that unless it falls on the ground, it remains a seed. But if it falls on the ground and it suffers, it's crushed and it dies and it appears like it's dead, it will not bear fruit. And that's why the life of Jesus and our life is to be. That's supposed to be a life of sacrifice, even sometimes which calls us to die off, to die from the dirt of sin, to die off from whatever does not bring life, so that we can bring life, to cut off from whatever takes away our peace, whatever is bad, to cut it off from our lives, and to embrace everything that is peaceful, good, and loving. And that is what will bear fruit. And this is what Jesus expresses about his death. Dear friends, the message of Jesus in today's reading is that when we follow the Lord in loving and serving Him, don't expect only bed of roses, only sweet, nice smelling, good roses. Of course, that is what we are called to be, and that's what we are called to also enjoy and give glory to God. But there are also some thorns which are also part of the reality of our being human. Yes, while we should continue being roses for others, let us always try to see that there are also reality of thorns that are part of our being. But those thorns, those challenges, those crosses are moments that help us to grow, to be purified. And when we are aware of them, aware of our crosses, we carry them not alone, but with the Lord, who says to us, "Come to me, all of you who are burdened, and I will give you rest." So He tells, let's carry the crosses with Him. This is what we heard in today's first reading when we hear, "My son, my child, when you come to serve the Lord, expect trials, expect challenges." What's important, however, let us not get lost only in the trials, in challenges, because life has a lot more to offer us. While we have to face our challenges, while we have to carry our cross, while we have to face our problems, and use the wisdom that we have received and the energy we have received to solve these challenges, while we have to do all that to face the challenges and without running away from them, we should always remember that there is a lot of good and blessings around us which we are supposed to focus on and to share, so that more blessings multiply and they overcome the challenges. Blessings can overcome challenges. Goodness can overcome evil. Peace can overcome war. Trials and challenges are part of our being disciples or followers of the Lord. Never abandon Jesus because you have met some small or big trials. Actually, that's even the most important moment, to even cling more on the Lord and say, "Lord, be with me. Don't abandon me. Let's move together. Help me." Yes, I know that sometimes life can crash us to the ground with tears, with pains, with a lot of struggles that crash us to the ground and make us even feel useless. But let us stop a bit, reflect on what happened, see what we can do about it to avoid again that this happens again, and learn from whatever happened and move ahead always with hope. And when trials come again, handle it with Jesus and with others, because Jesus also works through others, and move ahead. They come again and they will come, calm down peacefully, handle it with the Lord, sleep over it, reflect about it, share it with friends, and move on with life without making a big noise about the trials. Sometimes they are small trials and we make a big mountain out of small trials, and it makes us feel like there's nothing good in us, and it also makes others feel like there's nothing good in others because we are focusing only on small trials. But even if they are big trials, just know no trial is permanent. It will pass away, just as the passion, the suffering and death of the Lord passed away, and there was the resurrection. Yes, in our lives we will have our own version of suffering, but like Jesus, there is the glory, there is a resurrection awaiting us, there is light awaiting us in the dark, painful moments of our lives. We embrace the Lord. There is joy that comes even after our suffering. We should not give up immediately. Let's know that we cannot face it alone. Let's face it with the Lord and with others, and be patient about whatever happens, and the Lord will see us through. We are not alone. He's the one who created us, and He knows that everything is working out for the good of those who love the Lord. So, and as Jesus meets the disciples, He's surprised that He's talking about His passion and suffering and death, and they are talking about who is to succeed, who is to sit on the right, on the left. And Jesus knew it in their heart, just as Jesus knows our heart. And He asked them, "What are you discussing about?" And He is so surprised that they are discussing about taking possessions and positions. That sometimes happens to us. Until now, He uses this moment to teach the people that whoever wants to be first must be a last and a servant of all. And He brings the child in their midst and says, "Be a dependent to God like the way this child is. Be humble, loving the way this child is. Be spontaneous in life the way this child is." If you want to be great, be a humble, loving servant to all. If you want to be a giant, be a child. Greetings from Jerusalem, dear friends.